In 1950, if you wanted to buy a bicycle in America, you had one choice that mattered. Schwinn. Not because other brands didn't exist, they did. But Schwinn controlled 25% of every bicycle sold across the entire United States. 1 in every 4 bikes. From the suburbs of Connecticut to the beach towns of California, from the farmlands of Iowa to the streets of New York City, that distinctive script logo meant something. Quality, status, American craftsmanship. The factory on North Costner Avenue in Chicago employed over 2,000 workers, sprawled across multiple city blocks, and produced bicycles that defined what it meant to be a kid in America. Parents saved for months to buy their children a Schwinn. Teenagers worked summer jobs to afford a Varsity 10 speed. Adults rode Continentals to work with pride. Schwinn wasn't just selling bikes, they were selling the American dream on 2 wheels. Then something went catastrophically wrong. By 1992, that same company filed for bankruptcy, with debts exceeding $80 million. The factory floors that once hummed with the sound of American manufacturing sat empty. The workers were laid off. The equipment was sold. 5 generations of the Schwinn family had built an empire over 97 years, and in less than a decade, it collapsed into ruins. The brand that once dominated American cycling was sold to a competitor for pennies on the dollar. Today, Schwinn bikes are manufactured in China and Taiwan, sold in big box retailers, competing with dozens of brands most Americans have never heard of. The premium is gone. The prestige is gone. The empire is gone. This is the story of how a German immigrant built America's bicycle kingdom, how 5 generations of his family ruled it with absolute control, and how the final generation destroyed it all through arrogance, stubbornness, and a fatal refusal to see what was happening in their own market. This isn't just about bicycles. This is about legacy, hubris, and the brutal truth that no empire lasts forever when its rulers refuse to change. Welcome inside the Schwinn Bicycle Company, where America's cycling dream was built, dominated, and destroyed. Hardheim, Germany, 1860. Ignaz Schwinn is born into a country obsessed with precision engineering. This is the era of German industrial revolution, where craftsmanship isn't just a skill, but a national identity. While other European countries are racing toward mass production, German factories are building reputations on quality. Every bolt matters, every weld matters, every measurement matters. Young Ignaz grows up breathing this philosophy. By the time he's 19 years old, Ignaz is already a trained mechanical engineer working in German factories that produce everything from farm equipment to industrial machinery. But Germany in 1879 is crowded. Too many engineers, too much competition, too little opportunity for a young man without family connections or inherited wealth. Ignaz sees the ceiling above him. He's talented, meticulous, obsessed with perfection. But he's also just another worker in a country filled with talented workers. He makes a decision that changes everything. In 1891, at 31 years old, Ignaz Schwinn boards a ship to America with nothing but his engineering training and an unshakable belief in German precision. He doesn't speak perfect English. He doesn't have connections. He doesn't have money. What he has is skill and timing. Chicago in the 1890s is the Wild West of American manufacturing. The city is exploding with factories, immigrants, opportunity, and chaos. It's also exploding with bicycles. The bicycle craze is sweeping America. Everyone wants one. But here's the problem. Most American bicycles are garbage. Frames crack after a few months. Wheels buckle under normal use. Riders are getting hurt. The industry is growing fast, but quality is an afterthought. Ignaz Schwinn walks into this chaos and sees exactly what's missing. German engineering, precision manufacturing, quality control that doesn't compromise for speed or profit. While American manufacturers are cutting corners to meet demand, Ignaz is studying their failures. He works for several bicycle companies in Chicago, learning the American market, understanding what customers want, identifying where competitors are failing. He's 35 years old when he realizes something crucial. Americans will pay more for quality. They'll pay a premium for a bicycle that doesn't break. They'll pay for German engineering if someone can deliver it. But he's still just an employee. That ends now. In 1895, Ignaz Schwinn partners with a Chicago businessman named Adolf Arnold. The deal is clean. Arnold has money and Chicago connections. Schwinn has engineering genius and manufacturing expertise. They shake hands, pool their resources, and on October 22, 1895, the Arnold, Schwinn and Company is born on the north side of Chicago. The timing couldn't be better. America is in the middle of bicycle mania. Between 1890 and 1900, bicycle sales in the United States explode from 200,000 units per year to over 1 million. Everyone wants a bike. The wealthy elite are buying them as status symbols. The working class is buying them for transportation. Women are buying them for the unprecedented freedom of movement they provide. Bicycles are revolutionizing American life, and the market is wide open for anyone who can meet demand. But Schwinn doesn't want to just meet demand. He wants to dominate it. His first strategic decision defines everything that follows. He will not compete on price. While competitors are racing to build the cheapest bicycles possible, Schwinn is building the most durable. He imports German steel. He implements precision welding techniques that American factories don't understand. He obsesses over every component, testing frames until they break, then redesigning them to be stronger. His bicycles cost more than competitors, significantly more. Here's the genius of that decision. It works. Customers who buy a Schwinn bicycle discover something revolutionary. It doesn't break. The frame doesn't crack after 3 months. The wheels don't buckle. The chain doesn't slip. Word spreads fast in the tight-knit cycling community of 1890s Chicago. Schwinn bikes are expensive, but they last. They're worth it. By 1900, Arnold, Schwinn and Company is producing thousands of bicycles per year. But Ignaz isn't satisfied. He sees a bigger opportunity. Most bicycle companies in America are small operations, producing bikes in cramped workshops with inconsistent quality. Schwinn wants to build something different, a real factory with German-style precision and American-style scale. In 1905, at 45 years old, Ignaz makes his boldest move yet. He buys out Adolf Arnold completely, renames the company Schwinn Bicycle Company, and moves production to a massive new factory on North Costner Avenue. The building is huge by early 1900s standards, multiple floors, state-of-the-art machinery, room for hundreds of workers. He's not building a workshop, he's building an empire. The early 1900s see bicycle sales in America crash spectacularly. The automobile is arriving, and suddenly bicycles seem old-fashioned. Between 1900 and 1910, American bicycle sales drop from 1 million units per year to just 200,000. Dozens of bicycle manufacturers go bankrupt. The industry that seemed unstoppable in the 1890s is collapsing. Most companies would panic, not Schwinn. While competitors are slashing prices and cutting quality to survive, Ignaz doubles down on his original strategy. He makes his bicycles even better. He invests in research and development. He patents new frame designs. He creates the Schwinn Standard, a set of quality benchmarks that every bicycle must meet before it leaves the factory. No exceptions, no compromises. Here's what makes this strategy brilliant. Schwinn isn't trying to sell bicycles to everyone. He's selling to the customers who remain. And those customers are serious cyclists who care about quality. They're not buying bicycles as novelties. They're buying them as long-term investments in transportation and recreation. These customers will pay Schwinn's premium prices because they understand value. By 1920, Schwinn Bicycle Company has survived while dozens of competitors have failed. The company employs over 500 workers. Production is steady at around 50,000 bicycles per year. But, more importantly, Schwinn has established something invaluable: brand reputation. When Americans think about quality bicycles, they think about Schwinn. That reputation will carry the company through the next 3 decades. Then, in 1923, tragedy strikes. Ignaz Schwinn, at 63 years old, dies suddenly. The founder, the German engineer who built American cycling from nothing, is gone. The empire he created faces its first real test. Can it survive without him? Frank W. Schwinn is 28 years old when his father dies. He's been working in the family business since he was a teenager, learning manufacturing, understanding customers, absorbing his father's philosophy of quality above all else. But he's not just a copy of Ignaz. Frank has his own vision for Schwinn, and it's more ambitious than anything his father imagined. Frank sees what's happening in America in the 1920s. The economy is booming. Suburbs are spreading. Children are spending more time outdoors. And parents are looking for safe, reliable bicycles for their kids. This isn't the adult cycling market of the 1890s. This is a family market, and it's massive. Frank's first major decision as company president is revolutionary. Schwinn will focus on children's bicycles. Not exclusively, but primarily. While competitors are still thinking about adult commuters and serious cyclists, Frank is targeting suburban families with disposable income and a desire to give their children the best. In 1924, Schwinn introduces the Aerocycle, a balloon tire bicycle designed specifically for children and teenagers. The design is brilliant. The fat tires make riding easier and more comfortable. The frame is lower and more stable. The colors are bright and appealing. And crucially, it's built with the same German precision and durability that made adult Schwinn bikes famous. These aren't cheap toys. These are quality bicycles that will last through multiple children, multiple years, multiple falls and crashes. The Aerocycle becomes a phenomenon. By 1930, Schwinn is selling over 100,000 bicycles per year, and most of them are going to children. The company expands the factory on North Costner Avenue. Employment doubles, then triples. Frank isn't just growing his father's business, he's transforming it into something bigger. Then, the Great Depression hits, and once again, Schwinn does something its competitors don't expect. While other bicycle manufacturers are going bankrupt, laying off workers, and desperately cutting prices, Frank Schwinn makes a counterintuitive decision. He keeps prices high and quality higher. Here's his reasoning. During the Depression, families have less money to waste on products that break. They need bicycles that last. They need durability. They need German engineering. Schwinn's higher prices are actually an advantage because they signal quality to customers who can't afford to buy twice. The strategy works. Through the entire depression of the 1930s, Schwinn Bicycle Company remains profitable. Not just surviving, thriving. By 1935, the company is producing over 150,000 bicycles per year. The factory employs over 1,000 workers at a time when unemployment across America is at 25%. Schwinn isn't just a bicycle company anymore. It's a Chicago institution, a symbol of American manufacturing resilience. Frank also makes another crucial decision during this period. He invests heavily in dealer relationships. Most bicycle companies in the 1930s sell through general retailers who carry dozens of brands and don't really care which one sells. Frank creates an exclusive dealer network. He signs contracts with bike shops across America, giving them exclusive rights to sell Schwinn bicycles in their territories. In exchange, these dealers commit to displaying Schwinn prominently, training their staff on Schwinn quality and never discounting prices. It's a brilliant distribution strategy. Schwinn dealers become evangelists for the brand. They're not just selling bikes, they're selling the Schwinn story. German engineering, American manufacturing, unmatched quality. Customers walk into a Schwinn dealer and they're immediately immersed in the brand mythology. By 1940, Schwinn controls approximately 25% of all bicycle sales in America. 1 in every 4 bikes. Think about that for a second. In a country with dozens of bicycle manufacturers, one family-owned company in Chicago has captured a quarter of the entire market. The Schwinn name has become synonymous with quality bicycles in the same way that Kleenex became synonymous with tissues or Xerox with copying. World War II temporarily disrupts bicycle production as factories convert to war manufacturing. But when the war ends in 1945, Schwinn is perfectly positioned for what comes next: the greatest economic boom in American history. The late 1940s and 1950s see American suburbs exploding. Families are moving out of cities into new developments with lawns, garages, and safe streets, perfect for children to ride bicycles. The baby boom generation is arriving, and every one of these kids needs a bike. The bicycle market isn't just growing, it's exploding. Schwinn dominates this boom completely. In 1946, the company introduces the Black Phantom, a deluxe bicycle with white wall tires, chrome fenders, and a built-in horn. It's expensive, about $75 when a basic bike costs $30. But it becomes a status symbol. Every kid in America wants one. Parents save for months to buy their children a Black Phantom. The bike appears in movies, television shows, and advertisements as the symbol of American childhood prosperity. By 1950, Schwinn is producing over 500,000 bicycles per year. The factory on North Costner Avenue now employs over 2,000 workers and runs multiple shifts to meet demand. Frank Schwinn has done what seemed impossible. He's taken his father's quality-focused engineering company and turned it into a mass-market brand without compromising quality. Schwinn bikes still cost more than competitors. They're still built better, and Americans are buying them faster than the factory can produce them. Sales climb, reputation builds. Dealers are reporting waiting lists for popular models. Schwinn introduces new designs almost every year: the Corvette, the Jaguar, the Continental, the Varsity. Each model targets a specific segment of the market. Each model maintains the Schwinn standard of quality. Then, in 1963, Schwinn introduces the bike that will define American childhood for the next 2 decades: the Stingray. It's a bicycle unlike anything the market has seen before. Small 20-inch wheels, a banana seat, high-rise handlebars. It's designed to look like a motorcycle, appealing to kids who want to feel cool, fast, rebellious. The Stingray is a phenomenon. Between 1963 and 1968, Schwinn sells over 5 million Stingrays. It's not just a product. It's a cultural icon. By 1970, Schwinn Bicycle Company is at its absolute peak. The company produces over 1 million bicycles per year, controls approximately 25% of the American market, employs over 2,000 workers in Chicago, and has dealer relationships with thousands of independent bike shops across the country. The Schwinn name is one of the most recognized brands in America. Frank W. Schwinn, now 75 years old, has spent 47 years building on his father's legacy, and the empire seems unshakable. But beneath this success, something dangerous is happening. The company is becoming complacent, the market is changing, and the Schwinn family is about to make a series of decisions that will destroy everything 5 generations have built. In 1979, Frank W. Schwinn dies at 84 years old, having led the company for 56 years. Control passes to his grandson, Edward Schwinn Jr., who is 44 years old and represents the fourth generation of family leadership. Edward Jr. has grown up inside the company, worked in the factory, learned the business from his grandfather. He believes deeply in the Schwinn philosophy: quality, durability, American manufacturing, premium pricing. But Edward Jr. makes a crucial mistake that his grandfather and great-grandfather never made. He assumes the past will guarantee the future. He assumes that Schwinn's brand reputation is so strong that the company doesn't need to innovate or adapt. He assumes that American consumers will always pay premium prices for Schwinn quality. He's dead wrong. Here's what Edward Jr. doesn't see, or refuses to see. The bicycle market is changing dramatically. In the early 1970s, a new category of bicycles is emerging in California: mountain bikes. They have wider tires, stronger frames, better suspension, and are designed for off-road riding. At first, these bikes are a niche product, popular with a small group of enthusiasts in Marin County, California. But by the late 1970s, mountain biking is exploding in popularity across America. Small companies with names like Trek, Specialized, and Cannondale are designing innovative mountain bikes using lightweight materials, experimenting with new frame geometries, and capturing the imagination of a new generation of cyclists. These bikes are exciting, they're different, they represent adventure and freedom in a way that traditional bicycles don't. Edward Schwinn Jr. looks at mountain bikes and makes a fatal decision. He dismisses them. He sees them as a fad that will fade. He believes that Schwinn's traditional bikes, the cruisers and 10 speeds that have been bestsellers for decades, are what customers really want. He refuses to invest seriously in mountain bike development. When Schwinn does eventually release mountain bikes in the early 1980s, they're mediocre, overpriced, and years behind competitors. While Schwinn is ignoring mountain bikes, Trek Bicycle Corporation is building an empire on them. Trek was founded in 1976 in a barn in Waterloo, Wisconsin, by a man named Richard Burke. Trek starts small, producing just a few hundred bikes per year. But they're listening to what customers want. They're innovating constantly. They're building mountain bikes that actually perform well off-road. By 1985, Trek is selling over 100,000 bicycles per year and growing fast. Specialized and Cannondale are experiencing similar growth. Schwinn's market share is collapsing. In 1980, Schwinn controlled 25% of American bicycle sales. By 1985, that number has dropped to 15%. By 1990, it's below 10%. The company that once defined American cycling is being destroyed by competitors who are more innovative, more responsive to market changes, and more willing to take risks. But the mountain bike mistake is only part of Schwinn's problem. Edward Jr. makes an even more catastrophic decision about manufacturing. For decades, Schwinn has produced all its bicycles in the Chicago factory, maintaining direct control over quality. But by the 1980s, American manufacturing labor costs are rising. Unions are demanding higher wages. The factory on North Costner Avenue is expensive to operate. Edward Jr. looks at his competitors and sees they're manufacturing bicycles overseas, primarily in Taiwan and Japan, where labor costs are a fraction of American wages. Trek is doing it. Specialized is doing it. Even smaller companies are using overseas manufacturing to reduce costs while maintaining quality. But Edward Jr. makes a different calculation. He believes that American manufacturing is part of the Schwinn brand identity. He believes customers care where their bicycles are made. He refuses to move production overseas entirely. Instead, he makes a compromise decision that turns out to be the worst of both worlds. Schwinn begins contracting with a Taiwanese manufacturer, called Giant Bicycle to produce some lower-end Schwinn models. But Schwinn keeps its premium models in Chicago, maintaining the expensive American factory while also paying overseas manufacturing costs. The company is now bearing two sets of manufacturing expenses without the full cost savings of overseas production. Here's where it gets catastrophically worse. In 1980, Schwinn gets into a financial dispute with Giant Bicycle over payment terms. The relationship deteriorates. Giant decides they don't need Schwinn anymore. They've learned how to build quality bicycles through their contract work, and they realize they can sell bikes under their own brand name. Giant Bicycle becomes one of Schwinn's direct competitors, using manufacturing expertise they gained while producing Schwinn bikes. Schwinn scrambles to find new overseas manufacturing partners, but the damage is done. The company has lost its most reliable supplier, given a competitor crucial knowledge, and is now stuck with an expensive American factory that can't compete on cost with overseas production. By 1985, Schwinn is producing about 600,000 bicycles per year, but profitability is collapsing. The Chicago factory is losing money. The company is being squeezed between cheaper overseas competitors and more innovative brands like Trek. Edward Jr. is watching the empire crumble, and he keeps making the same mistake. He refuses to fundamentally change the business model. In 1988, Schwinn Bicycle Company loses money for the first time in its 93-year history. Not a small loss. Millions of dollars. The Chicago factory is operating at partial capacity. Dealers are complaining that Schwinn bikes are overpriced and outdated compared to Trek and Specialized. Market share continues falling. Edward Jr. tries desperate measures. He introduces new models. He attempts discount pricing on some bikes, breaking the premium pricing strategy that defined Schwinn for decades. He negotiates with multiple overseas manufacturers to produce lower-cost bikes. Nothing works. Every decision seems to make the situation worse. Here's the brutal truth. Schwinn's problems aren't fixable with minor adjustments. The company needs complete transformation. It needs to abandon American manufacturing entirely or commit to it completely. It needs to invest heavily in mountain bike innovation or exit that category entirely. It needs to rebuild dealer relationships or establish new distribution channels. Most importantly, it needs leadership that understands the bicycle market has fundamentally changed. Edward Schwinn Jr. cannot provide that leadership. He's too attached to the past, too committed to the business model that worked for his grandfather and great-grandfather. He keeps believing that Schwinn's brand reputation will save the company, that customers will eventually come back to quality American bicycles. They won't. By 1991, Schwinn Bicycle Company is drowning in debt. The company owes over $80 million to creditors, banks, suppliers, and overseas manufacturers. The Chicago factory has laid off most of its workers. Production has fallen to under 300,000 bicycles per year. Market share is below 8%. The company that once dominated American cycling is on the verge of total collapse. In October 1992, after 97 years of continuous operation, Schwinn Bicycle Company files for bankruptcy. The announcement shocks the cycling world. How does an unbeatable giant fall this hard? How does a company with one of the most recognized brand names in America end up bankrupt? The symbolism is devastating. The factory on North Costner Avenue, the building that Ignaz Schwinn constructed in 1905, the place where millions of American bicycles were manufactured over 9 decades, sits empty. The machinery is sold to pay creditors. The workers are gone. The Schwinn family's control over the company is gone. In 1993, the Schwinn brand is sold to Scott Sports Group for approximately $40 million. Later, it's sold again to Pacific Cycle, which is eventually acquired by Doral Industries. Today, Schwinn bicycles are manufactured primarily in China and Taiwan, sold through mass market retailers like Walmart and Target, and compete in the low to mid price range with dozens of other brands. The premium is gone. The prestige is gone. The Schwinn standard is gone. The collapse of Schwinn Bicycle Company offers brutal lessons about business, legacy, and the dangers of arrogance. Let's talk about what killed one of America's most successful family businesses. Lesson 1. Brand reputation doesn't protect you from market changes. For decades, Schwinn believed its name alone would keep customers loyal. Edward Schwinn Jr. assumed that generations of quality would insulate the company from competition. He was wrong. When mountain bikes revolutionized cycling, customers didn't care about Schwinn's history. They cared about which brands offered the best mountain bikes. Trek understood this. Specialized understood this. Schwinn didn't. Brand reputation is valuable, but it's not a shield against innovation and change. Lesson 2. Dismissing new market trends is fatal. Edward Jr. saw mountain bikes as a fad. He thought traditional bicycles would always dominate the market. This wasn't just wrong, it was arrogant. The mountain bike wasn't a fad. It was a revolution that redefined what people wanted from bicycles. While Schwinn was producing the same cruisers and 10 speeds that worked in the 1960s, a new generation of cyclists was discovering off-road adventure. By the time Schwinn recognized mountain bikes as permanent, competitors had captured the market completely. When you dismiss what customers want, you lose customers. It's that simple. Lesson 3. You can't serve two masters in manufacturing. Schwinn tried to maintain American manufacturing while also using overseas suppliers. This hybrid approach gave the company neither the cost advantages of full overseas production nor the quality control of complete domestic manufacturing. Trek made a clear decision. Manufacture overseas but maintain rigorous quality standards. It worked. Schwinn's compromise approach failed. In business, half measures in response to fundamental changes usually fail. You need to commit fully to a strategy, not straddle two approaches. Lesson 4. Family loyalty can destroy family businesses. The Schwinn family believed that keeping control within the family was essential to maintaining the company's values. But Edward Schwinn Jr. wasn't the right leader for the 1980s bicycle market. He was trained in his grandfather's era, committed to his grandfather's strategies, and unable to see that the world had changed. A non-family CEO might have made the difficult decisions Edward Jr. couldn't make. Closing the Chicago factory, investing heavily in mountain bikes, fundamentally restructuring the business model. Family businesses often struggle with this problem: loyalty to family members over competence in leadership. Lesson 5. Past success can blind you to present failure. Schwinn had succeeded for so long using the same strategy that it seemed impossible that strategy could fail. Quality bicycles, premium pricing, American manufacturing, exclusive dealers, strong brand reputation. This formula worked from 1895 to 1970. But by 1980, the market had changed so much that the old formula became a liability. Edward Jr. kept executing the same strategy even as evidence mounted that it wasn't working. He believed that if Schwinn just stayed the course, customers would eventually come back. They didn't. The market rewards what works now, not what worked in the past. Chicago. Today, if you drive down North Costner Avenue on the city's west side, you can still see the old Schwinn Factory building. It's not producing bicycles anymore. Part of it has been converted to other uses. Part of it sits empty. The windows are dusty. The parking lot that once filled with workers' cars every morning is mostly vacant. There's no sound of machinery, no smell of steel and rubber, no sense that this place once built an empire. The building stands as a monument to a kind of American manufacturing that no longer exists. For 87 years, from 1905 to 1992, this factory produced millions of bicycles that defined American childhood, American transportation, American culture. 5 generations of one family controlled this building, employed thousands of workers, and built one of the most recognized brand names in the country. All of that is gone now. The Schwinn name still exists, but it's owned by a Canadian conglomerate. The bicycles are made in Asia. They're sold in big box stores for prices that would have horrified Ignaz Schwinn. The premium positioning, the exclusive dealers, the Schwinn standard of quality, all of it has been erased by market forces, competition, and the failures of the final generation of family leadership. Here's what makes the Schwinn story so tragic. It didn't have to end this way. Schwinn Bicycle Corporation, founded in 1976 in a small barn in Wisconsin, figured out how to adapt to market changes while maintaining quality and brand reputation. Schwinn embraced mountain bikes early. Schwinn moved manufacturing overseas while maintaining strict quality control. Schwinn built a modern company that understood what contemporary cyclists wanted. Today, Schwinn is one of the largest bicycle manufacturers in the world, producing over 1 million bikes per year, and the company is still privately held by the Burke family that founded it. Schwinn had every advantage Schwinn didn't have: an 81-year head start, a famous brand name, an established dealer network, manufacturing expertise, and capital. But Schwinn had something Schwinn lost: the ability to change. Schwinn listened to what customers wanted. Schwinn recognized that mountain bikes weren't a fad, but the future of cycling. Schwinn made difficult decisions about manufacturing and distribution. Schwinn succeeded precisely where Schwinn failed. From a German immigrant engineer in 1895 to bankruptcy in 1992. 97 years from founding to failure. 5 generations from building an empire to losing it completely. That's how long it takes for arrogance to destroy what genius created. That's how fast the market can move past you when you refuse to move with it. Think about that for a second. One of the most successful family businesses in American history. A company that dominated its industry for nearly a century. A brand that every American recognized. Destroyed in less than a decade because the people in charge couldn't see that the world had changed. The bicycle market didn't kill Schwinn. Schwinn didn't kill Schwinn. Mountain bikes didn't kill Schwinn. What killed Schwinn was the belief that past success guaranteed future success. What killed Schwinn was arrogance disguised as loyalty to tradition. What killed Schwinn was the refusal to adapt, innovate, and change when change was the only path to survival. Welcome inside the Schwinn Bicycle Company, where America's cycling dream was built by German engineering, dominated through quality and reputation, and destroyed by the fatal belief that legacy matters more than listening to your customers. Adapt or die, innovate or disappear. The market doesn't wait for anyone, not even kings.